Yeah, y'all know what time it is, man. Y'all know what time it is. Unk
It's
and Few
Steelers Ravens time.
rivalry week, bruh. Let's talk about it. Ed Reed in
Yeah,
the
dude.
building. Unk, talk to them.
Rocking the baddest, buddy.
Hey, okay,
Hopefully,
okay.
hopefully trying to recover some type of running game, man. Jesus Murphy,
Mm,
because we got some ish to chop it up, man. We got to dive into this right away, man. We're talking Buffalo Steelers game last week, and then some Steelers talk after that, man. So
mm. Oh, we gotta get into it, man. By the way, if y'all don't know, you're here with Unk and Few. We got a sick nephew, but we got a ill Unk, a healthy Unk, ready to
ha,
take over the
damn
show.
Skippy.
Like the stream, best way to support, man. The likes and shares they go a long way. And like you said, Unk, I hate to say it, but I gotta say it. The Steelers did not look like the Steelers versus Buffalo. Unk, I'll give you the floor, brother. Go ahead.
Well, just to put it
Mm,
briefly, man, like the Bills had the day that the Steelers
yeah.
imagined themselves having. Right? Steelers were bad on
Mm,
defense, man. They couldn't get to Josh Allen, and James Cook just had a day. And not just him, his backup was running at like 6 yards, 7, 8 yards a carry. He got like 60
right.
yards on 9 carries, something like that. He was gashing them. He put together back to back runs of like 12, 13 yards in a row against
Mm,
the Steelers, like early on in the second quarter, right? So they were mixing it up. Cook still ended up with 30 plus carries, right? So it was absolute
crazy.
complete domination by the
Right.
Bills at at the Steelers' home field, right? So wasn't pretty to watch as a Steelers fan, but it was some medicine that Steelers fans needed to take. We need to break this illusion that that our team is some type of defensive module. In some respects, on some occasions, we are, but man, we are not penetrating offensive lines the way we should. We are not getting into the backfield consistently like we should. We're not getting as many turnovers as we should, even though we're pretty good on that one. But people are gashing us for big plays. And it's not Steeler
Yeah.
football. So with that in mind, yeah, like Cook had was 32 for 144 yards. Bills had 249 total yards on the ground against the Steelers. They had
Ugh.
almost a complete 42-minute time of possession advantage,
Oh,
41 minutes and 59 seconds. That is the sound of a ground game firing on
yes.
all 8 cylinders, right? Like that's
Right.
just full
Right.
on diesel running game. And the Steelers had to eat shit at home on their home field in front of their fans. We heard for the first time chants, like derisive chants coming from Steelers fans. And that just doesn't normally happen, right? So
Mm,
that said, it was a beatdown. Buffalo beat the Steelers 26-7 on their home field, right? Buffalo on the road put a whooping on
right.
them. And let me tell you, man, we
Mhm.
might as well just segue right into the Steeler Nation segment. Let's start
Yeah,
talking up
let's get
what's being
into it.
said, right?
Yeah.
Because you alerted me to the fact that both Harrison and Big Ben have made comments.
Yes.
And
Yes.
Big Ben was probably the most charitable of them. He loves him some Mike Tomlin for sure.
Yes. Yes.
But he suggested that, Mike should take the Penn State job, right? Which nobody seems to want. For
Nobody
some
wanted that
reason,
job.
nobody wants that
No
job.
one. No, it's horrible.
Anyways, like Tomlin has smacked that type of talk down in the past. He says, I'm not a
Yeah.
college coach. I'm a pro,
Right.
right? I spent 1 year as an assistant, spent 17 years as a winning, successful head coach since, right? Go ask
Mm,
Sean Payton if he wants to go coach college, right? That's his
right.
attitude, right?
Right.
So, but at the same time, so that's ruled out as an option. Now, James Harrison is more to the point, and he's calling Tomlin too much of a player's coach. He's saying
Mm,
that Tomlin is taking care of too many egos, veteran egos, and whatnot, and that it's not really the best for the team. And I kind of see Harrison's point to a certain degree on this. There is a different feeling and culture vibe coming out of that Steelers defense in particular. Like Cam
yes.
Hayward the other day complaining about Josh Allen kneeing him in the gut or whatever it was, like to keep him off him, right?
I
And
saw
there's
that.
Cam Hayward whining and complaining, to the camera. Well, when are we going to get protected? It's like, that's not a Steeler talking. That's not even
No,
Cam Hayward that I know talking, right?
no.
The Cam Hayward and the Steelers that I know on the next play sack the shit out of Josh Allen and whisper in his ears about, keep your fucking knees to yourself, asshole. You know what I'm saying? Like,
And like
that's how
stomp
the
him out
Steelers
in the
manage
huddle. They would
things,
have stomped him up in a pile, man. You're talking about James Harrison type guys. They don't care. Joey Porter guys, they don't care. Troy Polamalu, he doesn't care because you're
right?
getting it back on the next play. They did not care. You
Don't
know what I
talk
mean?
about
And
that
that was
stuff post
surprising.
game.
Let's talk
Huh,
about even TJ Watt. What's happening with him? He's been
right?
completely X'd out as a factor. He takes
Yeah.
over those type of games. And then you look on the other side, Joey Bosa, who's in my opinion, a bust. I'm gonna be real. He was
Well, he's getting older.
dominating the Steelers. Yeah, dominating the Steelers O line to the point where Aaron Rodgers was looking very old, brother. He was not
Well,
looking good. A-Rod had no time in the pocket. That Steelers game was not good, man. I was
well,
like,
and
what's going on, bro? You know what I
And
mean?
well, we have to talk about Aaron Rodgers for a little bit. For one,
Right.
he's only got
Mm,
half of the left hand, really, right? So that limits his ability
right.
to do anything except out of shotgun, right? It
Right.
limits his ability to hand off cleanly. So that's not
Incredible.
good. And at the
Mm,
same time, what I feared was going to happen eventually with Rodgers, with his petulance and
mm.
all that type of stuff, is starting
Yep.
to happen a little bit because there was one play in, I think it was the third quarter, maybe the second, where
Right.
like a lane opened up, like the Red Sea opening up for Moses. This
Right.
lane
Right.
opened up, and Rogers audible, about what he saw happening, and boom, boom, he snaps the ball, and he'd motioned at the line of scrimmage to the receiver
Right.
to be, to turn back and turn in. And instead, he turned to the right, went away from the ball, and Rogers just threw the ball into an empty space, didn't get picked or anything like that, because what Rogers saw was exactly correct. The lane was open.
Right. Right.
If Buddy had turned, if the receiver, I don't know if it was Metcalf, but if he turned the right way, it would have been six, and the game would have been closer, and might have proceeded differently.
Mm,
And Rogers was clearly upset and called the guy out like
yes.
on the
I
field in
remember
the
that.
moment. And so there's that
Yeah.
petulance. And now,
He
that's
was
the,
he was at the post game. He was like sneak dissing some of the players, like kind of
yeah.
giving some subtle shots and oh, you guys have to come to practice. You know what I mean? It's like,
And the worst part
brother,
is that he's right.
you're on your third team in about 4 years. You came back from a crazy injury. You're not playing like how the Steelers
But
expect. Of all people, are
he's
trying to
not
like send
wrong.
shots to receivers. Like, man, shut up, bro. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I didn't like it. It was not a
The
good
worst
look.
part is that
He
he's
was
not
right though,
wrong.
but he's not. I didn't like it. It was a bad look. I didn't like it.
No,
You know what I mean?
that's it. Like the worst part is that
Yeah,
he's not wrong. But
you're right.
it's like, that's not what I want from my leader, my team leader.
Mhm.
Right? I don't want that
Exactly.
openly calling it because it just creates division in the locker room. It's
Yes.
like, now it's Aaron and the Steelers. Like, no, no, no. This is exactly the type of scenario I did not want for my Steelers when I heard about Aaron Rodgers. First few
Right.
weeks, I was like, okay, maybe this can work, right? But it's a
Right.
long
Right.
season, and this type of crap inevitably creeps in, right?
You're right.
So I guess this brings us full circle then, like amongst this dysfunction, who's right? Should they get rid of Tomlin? Should he move on? One scenario I heard is that because this is the Roonies and the Steeler cultures that like they've had like four coaches in like 82 years or some number like this. Like they don't fire
Right.
coaches, they give them a long runway and they work through the issues over the years. And Tomlin is now benefiting from that. It's one of the best jobs in football. Now,
Right. Right.
people are starting to say that, well, maybe we need to switch all that up, because this just simply isn't good enough. That
Mhm.
having a winning season technically every year, year after year after year, without playoff wins to validate the process seems a little bit like it's kind of like a comfortable mediocrity. And is
Yes.
that the new standard in Pittsburgh? Well,
Thank you.
right. And this is what people are saying that, maybe we need to, upset some things and, but this is my point here. And this is Rooney's point here is
Mm.
that like, yes, it's frustrating, But realistically, the Steelers have not had a quarterback in freaking. They've had two quarterbacks basically in 50 plus years,
Right,
right?
right.
They've had Big Ben, right? Did wonderfully.
Yep.
Of course, they had Terry Bradshaw. But in
Yes.
between that, we had a lot of Neil O'Donnells, Mike Tomzaks. We had Cordell Stewart slash, who sort of borders on a third functional quarterback. But
Right.
like only two quarterbacks have won the big game and done so convincingly and rolled through the playoffs. And, you really felt confident with them at the helm. All these other
Right.
quarterbacks, you're always just waiting for the defense to bail you out or some, incredible fucking 3rd and 13 play Heinz Ward over the middle, right? Like,
Right, right.
right? There was constant cardiac kids on offense with the Steelers, right? And it's
Mm.
still like that now. They still have an issue where they need and here's the devil's bargain, right? When you have a mediocre season every year, you're competitive and you're winning more games than you lose, right? That means that your draft pick every year is somewhere around 12, 15, 18, 22, right? So you
Thank
never
you.
really get a crack at, the absolute blue chip quarterback prospects coming out.
Right.
And so they need to figure something out. Um, you know, they need to go.
Yeah.
They need to go make a deal with Cincinnati and offer them just a deal they can't refuse. Right? Just get Joe Burrow and Chase together. Just bring them over to Pittsburgh, right? Because like there needs to be an
Jeez.
infusion like that, and they need to solve their damn problems on defense and get that ethos back. But the first
Yeah.
step is dealing with a quarterback and getting a solid quarterback, a generational talent at quarterback. And it's been a sparse commodity in Pittsburgh over the years outside of those two that I mentioned, right? So again, this brings us back to Tomlin. And I think a good point was made this week on some pods. And one in particular, again, with, I'm a fan of Bomani Jones. And he pointed out a
Right,
very
right.
interesting fact that, like, people who are fans of the Steelers or your Ravens or whatever, right? Like,
Mm.
we forget what it's like to be an Arizona fan. We forget what it's like to be a Jets fan. Right? We forget what it's like to have like 3 freaking wins a year
Oh,
for 5 years in a row or something like that. Right?
they
And
shut down Kyler Murray, by the way, because their
it's
season's already
very
done.
different than the Steelers and their so successes,
Right.
over the years. And people forget what it's like to not have stability, to have chaos as your daily, weekly thing. So I preach caution in that regard. I understand the impulse, and Harbaugh's the next one too that we've been hinting at, from way
Oh.
earlier on in the season. That another guy with long tenure. But see, this is the next question. If you fire Tomlin, or better idea, somebody was saying is that you should trade him to some team and get a first round
Yes.
draft pick out of it, right?
Yes.
Like you
Yes.
can do that. You can trade coaches.
Yes, you
Um,
can.
and that might be a more intelligent way, because trust me, 20 phones will be all simultaneously calling Tomlin at the same time if he walks away from Pittsburgh. Like, he's going to get another
Right.
gig tomorrow, right? And that team will have an immediate turnaround, by the way.
Yes.
Anyway, so I preach caution on this. Ozzie Newsome preaches caution on this, simply because, like, you're a franchise that has a great deal of stability with a proven track record of being able to work through cycles. Is the solution to necessarily invite the chaos that enters some other franchises. You'll remember the AFC North, man. Like, they love their coaches. Remember Marvin Lewis, right? Look at how
I
long he
was
coached
about to
for in
bring him up,
Cincinnati.
brother. Marvin Lewis, the definition of mid. He was at the Bengals franchise for so long. And
Right.
guess what? As soon as they switched up and got Zach Taylor, I'm not giving Zach Taylor that much credit, but guess what? A new voice in the room with similar players, right? Obviously, Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase came after. But guess what? They went to the Super Bowl, the furthest they've been. And that's
Yeah.
my argument for I'm gonna be real. You have to fire Mike Tomlin, or you
Some
have
fresh,
to let
some
him
fresh
quit,
blood.
man. You will have to let him quit or trade him or
Yeah.
pull a Sean Payton where Sean Payton, I think, was fired. I'm being real, but he was allowed to quit
Yeah.
so that he left the Saints, got the broadcast job, basically took a buffer year, and then went to the Broncos. And we're gonna talk about our top five list. I'm actually more of a Broncos supporter after the Commanders win. I know it sounds nuts, but I'm more of a Broncos supporter now because I noticed that they win despite they're supposed to lose, but their coach puts them in position to win. I think, like James Harrison said, Mike Tomlin's voice has gotten softer in the locker room, bro. They're not listening to him. He doesn't have the same impact. And Harrison said something very interesting that I had to look back and search up, bro. Did you know that when Tomlin came in, he was 35 years old, right? He had Dick LeBeau as a defensive coordinator who has coaching experience, legendary D coordinator. Ken
Yep.
Wisenhunt, the OC, who also had coaching experience. So he had basically two head coaches, level
Yep.
guys on his offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator. And he had inherited a ton of players
It was
from
Cowher's
the
team.
previous Bill Cowher era.
It was
So he
Cowher's
had a
team.
very smooth way to transition into a head coach. And
Yep.
I'm not saying that he got lucky or anything like that. I'm just saying that the stars aligned. Now that he has to build from the bottom up, it's not looking good. I remember the Killer Bees era, man. As a Ravens fan, we were getting cooked by AB,
Yeah.
Le'Veon, and Boswell, Big Ben. It was nuts. And guess what? They never made a Super. That was a Super Bowl quality
Well,
team.
they
So
played
I'm
against
thinking
Green
about
Bay.
Tomlin. I'm thinking, Tomlin, you've underachieved, brother, especially
Tomlin
with what
went
you had at a point.
Tomlin
That's
went
all
to
I'm
his own Super Bowl in I think
saying.
2011 against Green Bay and got beat
Right.
handily. I should add it right. Like it was not a
Yes.
Steeler esque performance. They got
100.
beaten on defense in a way that was uncharacteristic of previous teams. The Coward team
Right.
that lost in 1995 to Dallas,
Right.
like that was just heartbreaking. And again, that was like poor quarterback play, right? Like
Right.
a couple of picks. Like it was probably the first time a safety won the MVP because I forget his name. Right, he's just some obscure Dallas cornerback had two picks in that game, and it made all the
Right.
difference. Right, Steelers were charging
Mm.
and driving. We're going to win that goddamn game, right? But picks, right? And it was
Right.
against a dynastic Cowboys team, right? That
Right.
95 team, right? And so the only Super Bowl to be rated triple X, right? um,
Larry Brown, yeah, just
and
about 30.
so
Mm.
yeah, so that was unfortunate, that loss, but it felt like we should have won, like we should have upset that dynasty, right? Like it was classic
Right.
Steelers Cowboys, like that was supposed to happen but didn't,
Mm.
right? So that was uncharacteristic, and then it took another 10 years for Cowher to get the boys back there again. Handled
You're
business
right.
handily there, not a problem, right? One for the thumb, way we go.
Mm.
But in Tomlin's second Super Bowl
Oh,
appearance, right? He didn't like
mm.
it didn't look like a Steeler-esque team, right?
Right.
So yeah, so that's his footprint really has sort of started from there. So that
Well,
brings us around. So
wasn't that the Rashad Mendenhall fumble? It was against Green
I
Bay, if
think
I'm
so.
not mistaken.
Yes, that's
Yeah,
right.
yeah, that's what I'm
That's
thinking
right. I've
about.
forgotten
Yeah.
about that guy.
Oh man, yeah, yeah. It's bad. I
Forgotten about
remember that
Rashad
game.
Mendenhall. Just yet another sort of guy supposed to inherit the Jerome Bettis type of role, and it just
Yeah,
never really panned out, right?
and
just like that
that's just
last
my
guy we got rid
argument.
of, right? So
That's just
down
my
over it.
argument against Tomlin, man, because I'm thinking, brother, like how many? Okay, let's run a scenario. I'm gonna run a scenario for you, on correct? Let's say the Steelers win the division, which actually at this point, in order for Harbaugh to get fired, selfishly, I want the Steelers to win the division because it accelerates the inevitable. But let's say the Steelers win, right? They go to the playoffs, they make it as I think the fourth seed in that situation
Right,
because they win the division, right?
right.
Y'all would be playing wild card weekend, probably Houston, maybe the Chiefs if they make it. I don't know. I don't know. You're gonna play a 7 seed. You're gonna play a shitty team, right? What happens in that
Not that
scenario?
shitty. Yeah,
That,
what if it's the Jaguars or Indy or like
yeah, actually, good point. I didn't
not an
think about
easy
that.
out.
Yeah, maybe it's the Colts. Maybe the Colts get second. I don't know, right? But let's say
Mm.
you play the Jags or the Colts or Houston or somebody like that, and it becomes a loss. What does that look on Tomlin's resume? Like, are we gonna
Just throw
are
it
you
on the
gonna expect
pile is
that?
what you do, is what it looks like. You just throw it on the pile with the rest of them.
Thank you, Unc. That's how I'm running that scenario for you because Marvin, like, shout out to Kareem in the chat. Appreciate you, Kareem, for being joining the pod.
Man's at
That's what
work.
happened. That thank you. Yeah, there you go.
Man's at
Taking it
work,
easy.
taking time out to watch the pod. My boy.
Oh, appreciate that, young KP, man. That's my guy. You know what I mean? But then think about it. That was the history of Marvin Lewis until they decided to let him go. He would
Yeah.
get the Bengals to the playoffs, which respect, but brother would never win a playoff game. And
But you see,
unfortunately, as great as Tomlin is, he's
But you
not
see,
gonna get done.
the same thing was happening in Cincinnati, because you have to remember
Right,
that outside of a couple of exceptions, 88 and 82,
right,
Cincinnati has been a historically bad team, 2, 4, 5 win seasons for a long time. Them and Cleveland took turns at the bottom of that division every year, right?
right.
And so when they got Marvin Lewis in there, who could like consistently take them to 8-8, 9-7 or something like that, like all of a sudden
Right.
that felt real good. And to do that
Mm,
season after season after season, that's the trap both Baltimore and Pittsburgh are sort of falling into,
yeah,
right?
man.
And so there
Exactly.
is a valid argument to be made for disruption in
Yeah.
Pittsburgh, but it would have to be an artful exit for Mr. Tomlin, giving him all the dignity and respect that he absolutely deserves. Not to mention,
Oh, of
it would
course.
be very smart to get a good first round draft pick, right?
Mm.
Send him to Arizona or Vegas or something.
Right.
Someplace where they're at the bottom, right? Tennessee, right? Send us someplace we're at the bottom where we can actually get a first round draft pick in the first five in the blue chips, and give him a graceful exit. But here's the next question: who's
So,
in the chamber? Like, Steelers better
mhm,
have themselves another Tomlin, another Cower at the
right,
ready. Somebody they're confident can go in there and rip it. Feel like they've got the next prodigy, right? Because that's what the
right.
Steelers have done. Find the hot, young, prodigious young coach and give him a long runway to do his thing with the
Mm.
confidence that you have full tenure, secure tenure, right? It's worked, but not always. It's
You're
worked in giving
absolutely
us
right. You're absolutely right.
an absence of 4 and 6 win seasons, right? There've been very, very
Right.
few of those, right? But you see, it's not producing, it's not continuing to produce championships in the way that they have. And this is the next thing we got to talk about in all this. Is it realistic to even expect the standard as it is described by Tomlin? The standard is the
Mm.
standard. Well, what is the standard? Right? Is the standard
What is it? Thank
competitive
you.
mediocrity, or is the standard
Thank
four
you.
Super Bowls in 6 years? Right? But because
Bingo.
in the 70s, the Steelers drafted intelligently, drafted well, got guys from HBCUs that nobody had heard about. Before they knew it, they
Right.
had 10 Hall of Famers on those rosters. But here's the thing: this is pre 1987, right? There's no free agency. It would be another 10
Right.
years before any of these players in the NFL could. Have things like a salary cap or the opportunity to go to the highest bidder. So
Right.
is it even possible to put together a team like that now, no matter how intelligent you are as a drafter? I would say no, right? So the standard is
Mm.
not really realistic anymore. But for us to go 500 in Super Bowls since, I guess some franchises would be happy with that. I would
Mm.
prefer if we'd won 3 out of 4. That would
Right.
seem to me like you're still doing something, right? But be cautious. Have that coach, boy. You better make sure, darn sure, that you've got that next prodigy to step in there, because I don't want 4 seasons of 5 wins. I don't want
Right.
that.
Right.
I don't want to
Unc,
suffer
I
through
don't
that.
disagree with you. I don't disagree with you because think about it like this, right? Think about the Patriots, right? The Pats, they had to get Gerard Mayo and they had a season of this was horrible, was not good. But then they were able to get Vrabel right after. So getting the right coach can make or break your team By the way, I'm
And
gonna get to Rob's comment in a bit, but I can tell you this. This is my counter argument to your point, right? Is that you can go from a guy like Pete Carroll, who had won a Super Bowl with the Seattle Seahawks, who had been making them a middling team with Russ, right? They decide, hey man, you gotta go, and they have Mike McDonald now. They are arguably the Seahawks with Mike McDonald. You can say they're the best team in the league. You can
mhm,
argue that.
yep,
You can look at their defense, you can look at their offense, their running attack, their passing attack, and say this is the best team in the league. And guess what? Look at what Pete Carroll's doing in Vegas. Horrible team. Very bad. So coaching,
yep,
like you said, matters. It can be a smooth, good transition, or it can be a bad one where it gets worse. And I'm gonna give you a historical context, go to the history. I put Tom Landry up there. Tom Landry was a legend, and then he lost it. He lost a locker
mhm,
room, his voice got shallow, and they got a guy from the University of Miami called Jimmy Johnson
that's
who
right.
came in and took them to a new level. Now, you know what I mean? The Cowboys, it's I'll be honest, they haven't had a good coach in a long time. Let's be real, you know, and that's part of the problem. But
Well,
Unc,
see,
you're right. It can
and
go both ways. You know what I mean? But
Dallas
I'm
is
more
even
saying
worse.
that the
See,
Steelers, they
Dallas is
have
a
a
good
chance to
example.
go and get a good one. Right. Go ahead.
Dallas is a good example of another level,
Right.
even lower level of competitive
Mm,
mediocrity, where their
correct.
fan base has learned to be satisfied with 6 to 8 wins a year and missing the playoffs
Right.
completely every
Right.
year, right? And
Right.
so it's even lower than the competitive threshold of in Pittsburgh. So,
Right.
and you're right, Seattle was falling into that trap with Carroll because again, right, legendary
Mm,
coach. How much do
thank
we
you.
owe this guy? How much equity has he built up with his championship appearances? Because again, Seattle's another team that went through 2 and 14 seasons at different different points
Yes,
in their
they did.
franchise history, and they
Yes, they
started
did.
getting very comfortable with Carroll and his competence, etc. But you're right; they had the bravery to switch it up. So yeah, that is the question in front of the Steelers. You know,
Mm,
wither competitive mediocrity and wither the Rooney's sacred sort of holy ground of coaching transitions, right? Like seriously, 80
mm,
years of smooth
yeah.
coaching transitions, four freaking coaches in 82. Like, wow, it's just it's a different
That's
culture, and they
amazing,
may
man.
have to they may have
Yeah.
to disrupt that culture slightly.
I will add this. I saw the Bamani speak on it. I don't watch his show too much, but he made a fantastic, kind of funny point. Is Tomlin getting preferential treatment because of the Rooney Rule, because of being a black coach? Because they're giving him a lot of string, bro. You know what I mean? It's almost like the
Yeah.
reverse of you know what I mean? They're giving him a lot of string to play with when a lot of other coaches would have gotten, yeah, they would have gotten
Right.
the boot.
And that's an interesting observation. That's a very
It's
interesting
a good
observation,
point.
but I would
Yeah,
defer to the Steelers coaching culture that way, that it's just a
right.
coincidence and that he benefits from that. He absolutely benefited from the Rooney Rule. Of course, the rule they created for guys
Of
like
course.
Tomlin, and they interviewed the guy and loved him, right? Did you hear about
Mhm.
his interview in Miami?
Yeah, they thought it was too ghetto.
They
What are you
thought he
talking
was
about?
too.
Perfect
They,
is too ghetto?
You
Stupid.
okay? So you watched the same section I did,
I
where they
did.
were
I watched
talking
it
about.
too. Yeah.
They said he was too hip hop,
Yeah, too.
and
My
I'm
bad.
like,
Hip hop. There
which
you go.
freaking part of Mike Tomlin is hip hop? Like that's just
None. Zero
that's just a
percent.
euphemism for he black.
He black. That's a fact. They're trying to say he black. They're saying he black. But I'm
And
like,
they're
bro,
saying that they don't
what?
want no black head coach in Miami, is what they're saying,
Hey
right?
man,
He too
look.
hip hop. Give me
Their
a
last
break.
their last black head coach actually had them competitive. Look what they're
Now
doing
that
now.
Now that man is hip hop. Brian Flores is
That's
a
a fact.
special kind of hip hop, right? But
That's
he's
a
that like
fact.
that mob deep hip hop, kind
Fact,
of dark and
fact, fact.
disturbed, right? And he was the best coach Miami's had in quite a while. It should be noted. They somehow
Oh,
decided
fact.
not to hire Mike Tomlin and went with some other coach that we've all forgotten his name, who went on to win like two wins that season, right? The
Sure.
non hip hop coach, like, good me. So yeah,
I think it was this guy Mike Martz, and he flopped out. He flamed out. It was so bad. It
yeah.
was bad.
That's funny, man. He too hip hop. Mike Tomlin's one of the most professional, like just football guys. Like I
Yeah,
can't even really picture the guy listening to music. Like to me, that guy's
no.
listening to like 70s soul. He's listening to the OJs and shit.
This man is listening to the Temptations, the Jackson
Right?
5. He's not listening to nothing that came out past the 80s, bro. He's not
Right?
listening to none of that. I don't even think he probably listens to music. He's probably watching film. You know what I mean?
Right? Like he
No,
doesn't give you that at all. I've never heard slang come out of that man's mouth that isn't
no,
just sort
no.
of just casual country, country diction or
Yeah,
whatever. For the most part, you never hear that guy dropping flavor ever. So
no,
like,
no,
what a
no. It's
ridiculous
not, no.
comment.
You know, he reminds me of one of my uncles, man. He's super old school, bro. He barely listens. He doesn't know what's going
Conservative
on.
man.
He's just stuck in his own world, bro. You know what I mean? His
He's a
old man world.
conservative black African American man. The only gold
That's
that guy
that.
fronts is a cross, and it's usually under his shirt, right? So he's not even an
Yeah.
in-your-face Christian. He's just a solid, foundational, classic,
He's
conservative
playing gospel
North
music,
American
man. I
male.
know. I'm telling you, he's listening to gospel music. He's listening to Hezekiah Walker, Kirk
Right?
Franklin. He don't know nothing about
Franklin, yeah.
secular life, bro. He don't know nothing about secular life. Nothing.
I would actually love to see that man's playlist. That would be cool.
Straight up, straight up. It's Spotify rap. By the way, shout out to Rob in the chat. Trade Harbaugh for Tomlin. I don't think so. I don't think both teams would do it.
Whoa.
But guess what? I think them both going on new teams. I think I texted this to you, Unc. If Tomlin went to a new team, or even Harbaugh went to a new team, I think they would do well. Think about the Andy Reid situation.
Yes,
Andy Reid left Philly, and he obviously we know what happened next. But
that's
he
the
had a lot of
example that keeps
success in
getting brought
Philly.
up. Andy Reid. He definitely
Yeah,
benefited on a couple of occasions from a change of scenery.
correct,
No
correct.
disrespect to the man or what he had accomplished there. Time to move
Mm,
on.
fair point. And you know what? Let's talk about moving on. Let's talk about the Cowboys moving on from the winning column back to where they're usually situated, which is the L column. I want to see where Sleepy Euphoria is at in the chat. Unc, lead us through this lead, man. Tell
Right.
us your thoughts.
Well, it all started with a man named George Pickens who came off a couple of great games, who made a declaration that nobody can handle Dallas right now. Well, George Pickens, right after that, went on to have like his worst day in 3 games. He was pretty much shut out. All his targets went to some dude named Flournoy, their Z receiver, right? And so both him and CeeDee Lamb had over 115 yards. It was an aerial show in Detroit. Sloppy play by Dallas. They allowed Dak to get sacked 5 times. 2 interceptions by Dak. 31 for 47 at 376 yards. So, like, the ball was flying around the yard. That's for dang sure. So Pickens, it was funny. Like, just after he made that statement, all that happened to him. Now, Goff, on the other hand, had another efficient week, 25 for 34, 309, 1 touchdown, only 1 sack, 0 picks, right? So a little cleaner than Dak. And it showed in the results sheet, right? Detroit played more efficient, more mistake-free football. They were 4 out of 5 in the red zone, right? Dallas certainly didn't do that. It was a very thrilling second half. It was an entertaining game.
Yes.
I had a feeling Detroit would win, but I kind of thought Dallas would hang in to cover, but they didn't. So they ended up getting kind of blown out. Detroit really needed that win so they could just sort of keep pace in their own division. So we can't bury Detroit yet. They did what they needed to do to move on, and Dallas did what they always do.
That's such a fact. Well put, Unc, because look at this. They actually had a very competitive fourth quarter. I'm talking about the Cowboys, by the way. They scored quickly and efficiently
Exciting.
to be within 7 points of the game. I think they even got the 2 point conversion. Dak,
Yeah.
it doesn't look like it on the sheet with his 2 picks. He played great. Dak played really, really good. And
Yeah.
the interceptions, I'm gonna blame the receivers both times. You know what I mean? Pickens kind of stopped his route, and he wasn't
Right.
really paying attention. And
Right.
the guy Fontenoy, or I forgot his name,
Flournoy.
but Flournoy, there you go. The man was not really gripping the football when Dak got him. Dak was
Yeah.
clearly the best player that whole game, and CD was balling out too before CD's concussion. So you
Yeah.
have your $60 million quarterback actually delivering, credit to him, but then the defense, Deron Bland getting cooked. The linebackers getting cooked. The D line getting cooked. This
Yeah.
was the best argument for having a guy like Micah Parsons because guess what? Parker Parsons already has 12.5 sacks this season. That's 5 seasons with 10 plus sacks in a row. That's amazing. Parsons is balling, and I think Parsons also going to have a great game this week. So what I'm saying, I say all that to say this: the Cowboys cannot stop being the Cowboys, bruh. They will always mess up in December. And if they make it to January, they're going to mess up in January too, bruh. It's just how they do. I thought there was some kind of hope. Now I think they have maybe like a 9% chance of making the playoffs.
Yeah.
Essentially, a lot of teams have to lose for them to get in.
Yeah. They
Any
really
last
needed
words
that
about the
win.
Cowboys and even the Lions? Shout out to the Lions. They won a critical game. You know what I mean?
They did. Yeah. Lions are given the nature of that division, the Lions are kind of on like a bit of life support being down in third in a very
Yeah,
competitive division with a tough schedule. We broke that down a couple of weeks ago.
right.
So yeah, they're going to have to like win out. I don't think Detroit can afford to lose more than once again this season and still come out on top of that division. I really don't think they're at 5 losses now. So yeah, neither
Yeah,
team really showed up much defense. Is really the story of that
no,
game.
no. And what's worse for the Detroit Lions? Just a quick thing to say, they lost Branch, their safety, their starting safety. So that secondary is looking thinner and thinner. And like we
Right.
talked about, if the Cowboys can put up 30 on them. Guess what Green Bay can do? Think about what Chicago's going to do. Think
Yeah.
about what a lot of teams are going to do to them. If Jameer Gibbs doesn't go out for 3 touchdowns, they lose. You know what I mean? They lose that game. If Jameer
Yeah.
Gibbs does not go out for 3 touchdowns, they lose. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's just something I want to point out. Another thing I want to point out is one of the best games I've watched in a long time. We're talking about the final and overtime game with the Denver Broncos versus the Washington Commanders. People went sideways about Broncos and saying, "Hey, are they a mirage? Are they fake?" Actually, I think this gave me more confidence in Washington. Sorry, in
Did it?
Denver than anything. Unc, what are your thoughts? What do you think about this crazy,
Well,
great Sunday night football game?
yeah.
You know what I mean?
My reaction is considerably different than yours.
Yeah,
Maybe it's a
for sure.
function of the fact that I've been, I've been speculating on Denver. I've been, analyzing them and breaking them down, and I have certain expectations of them based on
Right,
that
right.
because we've had them under the microscope because we've been analyzing them, and so I
Absolutely.
expected them to go in and certainly cover that damn spread. But I expected them to go onto the road into Commander's country and get an easy win out of it for once. Come on, show them
Mm,
something, right? They should have gone in there and won by an easy touchdown,
you're
right?
right.
At least 10 points. They should have their defense should have locked Mariota down, and instead he ran 55 yards on them, right?
Yes,
So,
dude, ball.
and Zach Ertz had over 100 yards. Terry McLaurin had almost 100 yards. Like those two veterans produced, and so I don't expect Mariota to go out there and be completing passes like that against like
Mm,
the best secondary in the league, apparently.
mm.
So the fact that Denver let them hang around the way they did. The fact that Denver only freaking won that game in overtime on a block 2-point attempt, like the Commanders
Yes,
were about to win.
they
Right?
were gonna win. Actually, that he just waited a few seconds or passed it earlier, maybe a bit below. They would have won. Yeah, they were about to win
Right?
the game.
Okay.
Yes, you're
Now,
right. That's the
also
one.
too, they did the same thing at the end of the fourth quarter to take it to overtime.
Yes, they
And I'm
did.
just like, what the hell? These are my notes. What the fuck, Broncos? Like WTF with question marks. Like what? Like
Yeah,
I did not expect that result, so I did not enjoy the back and forth, the competitiveness, and all the things you described. I did not
that's
enjoy
what
these
that's
things
right.
because I did not analyze. I did not predict them. I was like going. It was making me look like a rube. But
Oh,
it's nothing personal, right? But at the same time, I'm
yeah,
very disappointed in Denver because I was absolutely sure that they were going to cover the spread and win solidly there. And the exact opposite happened. So, yeah, my reaction to this game is anything but. To me, it was a ridiculous game. The Broncos were up
mm,
13-7 at halftime. A defensive juggernaut should have locked that game down from that point, right?
right.
That should have been it. Instead, the Broncos kept letting this inferior team play. And this is what I keep seeing out of the Broncos is that they keep playing to the level of their competition, right?
And
So
that's the best
rather than
argument
fortify my
against.
opinion of this team, it weakened
Mm,
it.
I think that's the best. Well, you have the right to have that opinion because you're thinking about a lot of their games are one score games. A lot of their wins are one
So
score games.
many.
It's like it goes down to a last minute Will Lutz kick to a field goal to win the game. They just get in the red zone and then they get kick a field goal to win. This was different because they had a defensive play. Shout out to Nick Bonito, I think that's his name,
Bonito.
who had an amazing
Great
spot to
game.
end the game.
He
But
had a
also, they
sack
could have
too.
ended the game earlier with I think it was like an interception, right? That was called back for some kind of OPI
Right.
or DPI interference,
Yeah.
something like that. So on that drive, it could have ended earlier. My reasoning is the opposite because I saw this before. I saw
Yeah.
this last year with the Chiefs. Remember the Chiefs last season? They
Yep.
went on a tear and they're winning one possession games. A lot of them. A ton of
And
them.
the refs
But
helped them
your
on
but
occasion.
the
And
argument is the end of the season. It got exposed. You know what I
okay,
mean?
but
But go ahead.
to me,
Yeah.
here's the difference, right?
Go
Number
ahead.
one, Broncos ain't the Chiefs. Number
Yeah.
two, and this is the more realistic difference between the two, is that the opposite happened with the Chiefs last year. The Chiefs would end up getting the 2-point conversion themselves, not like have to deflect it to win. You see what I'm saying?
Oh,
Like,
but yeah,
like the
I see what
Chiefs would
you're saying.
be on the receiving end of these like suddenly great end of the quarter plays that the Commanders were making, right? Um,
Right, right,
to win these
right.
games, as opposed to relying on a Nick Bonito Superman play to win. Like I don't remember the Chiefs
Right.
having to fight off people to win. They were the ones doing the clawing back and fighting. So
I,
like,
okay, I see what you're saying. I just
but my
counter
memory
that
might
and
be
say
wrong,
that
right?
my counter again is that you have to find ways to win, and that's just
They're
something to
doing
show
that.
me a type of resilience that they have. They
Yep.
don't look nervous in fourth quarters, man. They feel like, oh, this is what's supposed to happen, and they have the confidence to go on the field and win. Now,
And
the counter
I'm just
argument,
afraid it's
like you
going to bite
said,
them in
is
the
that
ass hard in the playoffs.
that's the counter argument because when it's the playoffs, it's tighter, it's more compact, the game is more intense. I just think that they played a ton of intense games that they have now the testicular fortitude to say, bro,
Right.
I'm pulling up and I'm gonna win. You know what I mean? So that's at least my argument. I was impressed, obviously, by the Commanders. I did not see that coming from them at all. But
Yeah.
I was impressed
Same
that the
here.
Broncos were able to last. I did not expect the Commanders to do that.
Freaking
On a
Marcus
Sunday night,
Mariota. Like,
of
come
all
on.
people, bro. Who would have expected that? Marcus Mariota is your reckoning. But there's somebody who is a bigger reckoning. And this is the most confusing guy of all the league. It's Bryce Young. Do
Yeah,
we have a
man.
reality where the Panthers win that division? And what am I talking about? If y'all are hiding under, I don't know, a bookshelf, the biggest news of last week, the biggest L of last week is the Rams. Yes, the Rams, the team that is basically crowned
Yeah.
the best team in the league that we've crowned them. We crowned them last week.
So of
We
course,
crowned
right?
them
So of
last
course.
week. And of course they lose. Talk to us.
Right. Okay. Well, yeah. Well, it turns out Bryce Young
Mm.
just broke Josh Allen's record for youth.
Oh,
He's won.
oh,
He's now come from behind and won in 11 fourth quarter games now,
wow.
which Josh
Wow.
Allen used to hold that record. He was like 24 years and 300 days or something like that. And Bryce Young's like younger by 100 days or something, right?
Wow.
So Bryce Young has a little bit of a cardiac kid in him.
Yes.
And he played extremely clean,
Yeah.
204 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 picks. I'm
Mm.
pretty sure that he had 0 picks on that clean sheet.
Yeah. No picks.
And the Panthers are takeaway artists, right? So they benefited from a pick six on that Stafford. Stafford played uncharacteristically not clean. He had
Yeah.
2 picks and I think a couple sacks. So that bubble that we had described ever so patiently last week all collapsed. Um,
Yeah.
and of course, this was in the middle of a fall rainstorm in Carolina, so a very wet field. It became a mutter. Another one of our predictions, too, of course, that Chuba Hubbard had been faded, right? So Hubbard came out to make liars out of us, right? Ran for 83 yards, received another
Yeah.
40, right? Got a
Yes.
touchdown. Like Chuba Hubbard
He
and
was in the
Rico
pocket.
Dowdle together combined for like a good, I think it's almost over. It's like 150 yards or something close to that. So
Yeah.
good day at the office on the ground by the Panthers. Timely
Yeah.
takeaways on defense was really the only main difference. You saw how close the
Mhm.
game was. This was just another example of a good team on the road. Like LA only had one penalty for 5 yards. Like they played a clean game. They just got
Wow.
beat by an inspired team on a rainy day on the road on the East Coast. It's kind of like a
Yeah.
mulligan game, but
Right.
nobody really saw that coming. But Panthers, what
Yeah.
am I telling you about the Panthers covering, right? They're now like 7-5, even though they've got a record of 6-5-1 or some shit like
Yes,
so.
they cover a lot. You
six and
said they
six or
cover a
whatever,
lot.
but they're
You're right.
7-5 against the spread, right? Good team.
Right. You're absolutely right. They cover a lot. And I'm giving you this. You're absolutely right about the penalty stat. They only had one penalty. I'm talking about the Rams.
Like that's a
Carolina had seven for
disciplined team.
70 yards. So they
Okay.
were disciplined. Yeah, and
Carolina
the
played
Panthers actually were
sloppy.
not. They were playing a
Except
bit
for Bryce
sloppy.
Young in the running
Yeah.
game. Like Carolina kind of played like on a rope, sloppy. They were only in the red zone once. The whole
Yes.
game
It was big
once.
plays. Yeah, it was big plays. The passes to that receiver, that rookie receiver, Ted something. I forget his name. Passes,
Tataroa,
obviously,
Tataroa
Ted
McMillan,
Roy.
the
Yeah,
rookie.
McMillan.
And
Yeah.
fans of this show will note how many times I've said, watch for Jalen Coker down the back
Yes.
stretch of the season when he returned from
Yes.
injury. And we saw that. Jalen Coker had like 75 yards and a touchdown from distance, right? Like I said, they
He
were only in the
balled
red
out.
zone
You're
once.
right. Yes, you're right. That was a great pickup. Keep listening to the pod. Y'all are getting some free game. Yeah, I mean, we deserve some kind of reward for this free game we be given. But at the same time, you're absolutely right. Bryce Young played a very clean game. He was also explosive in the run game. So he was
Yeah.
being used in multiple
Cardiac
ways.
kid.
Cardiac kid, and this is the big difference. The turnovers. The turnovers changed the game. Stafford, the
Yeah.
pick six, another interception, and I think somebody else fumbled the ball, something like that. There
Yeah.
was
There were
something
three
bad.
turnovers in total, right? Can't do that on
Yeah.
the road no matter how good you are.
No matter how good you are, and that changes our top five rankings. We're gonna talk about that a bit later. But before we
Yeah.
talk top fives, man, we got to talk about some CFB, brother. And I really like
Hold
how
on.
we
Sorry,
talked
just
about it. Yeah,
Just one
go ahead.
second. I
Of
just want to
course.
highlight just one ridiculous catch. Did you see that catch that Puka Nakua made, the one-hander at the
Oh,
seven
yeah.
yard line?
Oh my
Like,
God, that was beautiful. Yeah.
not only was it one-handed, but like it looked like it was getting taken away from him. And he took the
Yes.
ball back from the guy. All of this with one hand, like off his leg, and while falling to the ground. Like that was a
Yeah.
circus catch. That might be the best catch I've seen in the NFL, like all season, maybe in a couple of
Yeah.
seasons. It was just so insane. Anyway, sorry. Back to college football. My apologies. I just had to
No,
give
no.
Puka Nakua that shout out because it was so entertaining to watch.
Absolutely. No, you have every right, Unc, man. The thing is, I wish I could play it, but with anything I played from the NFL, they flagged it, guys. So I can only show y'all pictures of the catch.
Yeah,
Do yourselves a favor, go search up that
a
beautiful
friend of mine
catch. That
actually, a friend of the
mm,
pod on my
yeah,
side was asking about whether we would if we were going to be talking Steelers, where we're going to be showing like highlights from the 70s and turn
no,
on a younger audience and all that stuff. I said, well, we will be discussing it, but yeah, no, it's a feature of YouTube that we can't like just run the vids and all that
yeah.
stuff. Otherwise we'd be showing those Star Wars Lynn Swan highlights from the fourth
Oh
quarter of
yes.
that LA
Oh yeah.
game. They were just insane. The most beautiful rainbow pitch and catch you'll ever see, man, for distance. Anyways,
Yeah.
yeah, college football, dude. Indiana
Let's
did it.
talk. They did it. They did it. Indiana beats down. Well, not beat. It was a close game, obviously. 13-10 to win the Big Ten, brother. I
Yo,
didn't watch the game because I was working. Unc, you lead the show. Let us know your thoughts
literally,
about Indiana Hoosiers. They are 13-0, bro. Go ahead.
literally the first time in my lifetime.
Mm.
They have not won a championship in the Big Ten since like the late '60s, for heaven's sakes.
Wow.
I think they
Wow.
shared a championship in '88 or something like that.
Mm.
But the Hoosiers, of course, have not been a football power at all, ever, right? They've always been also rans in the Big Ten, except for the last
Correct.
2 years. You know, some
Correct.
people thought last year was a bit of a fluke, bro, but nah, man, not this time around. Indiana brought the receipts, man, and they played some
Yes,
damn
it is.
defense. They won that
Mm.
game on defense like warriors, man. That was impressive to watch. Just
Wow.
impressive. Yeah.
Wow.
And meanwhile, in the SEC, holy crap, man,
Mm.
Georgia put a stomp.
Georgia. Yes,
Man, they
versus
stomped a
Bama.
mud hole in
Ooh.
Alabama's ass, man. Yo.
Oh, yup, yup. So much so
So
that people are saying that does Bama deserve a spot in the playoffs? They're saying Notre Dame and Miami should go in both
yeah,
before Bama.
I
What do
believe
you think
it.
about that argument?
Well, see now, and this is the committee, and I just do not understand this logic whatsoever. The committee is
Yeah.
saying that they are not going to penalize a team for getting a mud hole stomped in their butt by the competition if it's in a conference championship game. That they're not going to reward, Miami and Notre Dame and all that stuff for sitting at home on their butts, not getting a mud hole stomped in it.
Right.
While Bama's out there doing their thing, risking playing a conference championship and losing that game. Well, why?
Mm.
Why are we taking that logic? They lost the game, right? Okay,
Right.
sure, we can give them points for making the conference championship game. That's called strength of schedule, things
Thank
like
you.
that. You can factor it in somewhere else, but they still played, for heaven's sakes. You can't take your eyes off the fact that Alabama just got curb stomped and have been getting curb stomped most of the damn month, right? And now have three losses. Sure, we
Yeah.
understand Alabama is, plays in a top conference, is a Rolls Royce program, and is great for ratings and all that stuff. But are they
Right.
better than Miami? Are they really better than Notre Dame? Right? Well, tail of the
Are
tape
they
says they
better than
only have two
Texas?
losses, so I say no. Right? Like
Are they
I
better
think,
than Texas? Think about it. Texas has been beating some good guys. You know, the
right?
Texas Tech. Texas Tech is for sure a CFB playoff team.
Oh
They
yeah,
beat
yeah,
them
one
pretty
loss.
handedly. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
So I think again, the schedules and the head to heads, that's what's making me confused about a lot of college football playoffs. Because teams that have won head to head sometimes are getting preferred rather than teams that lost. Like the Notre Dame and Miami situation in particular, Miami is fighting really to get in, and Notre Dame is already punched in. But I like the Canes. The Canes played really good this season, bro.
yes,
You know, obviously
yeah. I think
disappointed
so
for Bama,
too.
but the Canes
Well, look at it
played
this
all
way.
right.
Look
You
at it
know what I
this
mean?
way.
Yeah.
Alabama lost to FSU. They lost to the
Right.
Seminoles, I think, to open the season or something like that. Well,
Right.
guess who beat the Seminoles handily? Miami.
Miami. Yes. Yes, they did.
We're supposed to
So
be beyond all the we're supposed to be beyond all these debates, right? But the fact of the matter is, Alabama's played like ass the last month, and I do not
right.
believe that they are one of the top 12 teams in the country right now.
And you know what? Last thing I want to mention before we swing out of the college section. By the way, y'all get in the chat, talk to us in the comments, share. Let us know if you like the college talks. Well, I wanted to introduce this new segment because we had such a good chat about it last week regarding Lane Kiffin. I really like that talk, and it
Oh,
seems like
hey,
you and me are simpatico on it. You know what I mean? Go ahead.
yeah, guess who
Mhm.
auditioned this week? Who put a shout out to Lane Kiffin? We were talking about Ocho Cinco. Ocho Cinco wants to
Oh,
go coach wide receivers for Lane Kiffin.
oh, snap.
I'm just like, I'm
Oh,
just like,
oh
I'm like,
no.
Chad, don't do it, man. Don't do it. Don't squeeze that sponge, man. The ooze you're gonna get on your hands. Like, don't do it. You're a
Oh,
good man.
bruh.
You got a good heart.
Oh,
Don't go
man.
into Lane Kiffin's world. But you see him.
Uh,
You see him
I love
angling. He
Ocho.
wants to coach. He feels like he's got mentorship to provide to young receivers. You see the way
Yeah,
he talks, like he wants to do that. But
yeah.
yeah, man, I'm telling you. I'm telling you,
Mm.
college football it's hot right now. The playoffs coming. I think it's an appropriate topic.
Yeah, I think it's an appropriate topic too. And now we're gonna talk about just quickly before we leave this topic. Let's talk about Signetti. He's like the anti Lane Kiffin. He stuck
Yes.
through and he has made that Indiana program, brother, a real program. Indiana was known for basketball, bro. That Bobby Knight, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Indiana as a state is a basketball heavy state,
Yeah.
man. For him
Yeah.
to flip the Hoosiers as now that's what they are now. They're a football
Well,
powerhouse.
you talk
Amazing.
about him being the opposite of Lane Kiffin. The best
Yeah,
example of that, I forget what school he was at before he came to
I think
Indiana,
it was James
but
Madison or something like that. Yeah,
where was
I'll
it?
check it. I
Okay,
think so. I think it was James Madison, but I'll check while you talk, brother. Go
but
ahead.
he but he brought everybody. He brought the entire
Yes, he did.
outfit from his
Yes, he
previous
did.
school. Like that's the level of loyalty that they have to this guy. Plus players through the transfer portal from the other program. Like when he went to Indiana, he packed up all his bags and brought them to Indiana. And by bags, I mean his talent, his officers, just everybody who makes his program run. So that's a
Correct.
level of loyalty that like we were noting last week that like ain't no assistant of
Uh,
any real import is following Lane Kiffin on his travels to LSU. They're all just like, "Whew, finally that fucking guy's out of the room."
bro, I'd even argue. I'm being real. I'd argue that I think Ole Miss is gonna do really well in the playoffs, man. They have something to fight for, bro. They're like, F that guy, man. He done ruined
Well,
us. We gonna fight.
without
You know what I mean?
rehashing all of last week's convo about Lane Kiffin, like I'll
Right.
never understand how a man can walk away from that type of legacy. Like he alone built Ole Miss into what it is right now, and it's better than it's been in 50, 60 years,
Yeah,
70,
man.
75 years, and he's willing to walk away for it just to be a hoe. So I don't want to rehash all of that over again. Lane Kiffin is a special kind of weird, but yeah,
Hilarious.
yeah, yeah.
He is, bro.
Old Miss will probably
Good.
host a game.
Yes, they are. Actually, you're right. You're right. They're playing a lower seed, maybe like a Funny enough, we
Right?
mentioned James Madison or Duke. By the way, shout out to Duke for winning the ACC. Good win. I think they faced BYU or something like that. Very
Won't
good
mean
win for
anything.
them. Yeah, wow. They're probably
Eight
gonna
and
get curb
five.
stomped. I'm sorry. But it's still fun. Shout out to the
Yeah.
ACC. You know what I mean?
Well,
Let's
again,
talk
another
about.
not necessarily traditional football school, right? Duke, but they've been quiet as it's kept. They've been playing
Yeah.
better football in Duke for about 10 years now.
You're correct. It is a basketball powerhouse. You're correct, and they're actually making some noise. That's power of coaching, like we talked about, man. Let's
Yep.
as you said, fantasy starts and sits, Unc. Who we
Yeah,
starting?
dude.
Who we sitting, man? We're this close to the playoffs. I'm obviously not making the playoffs in one of our leagues, but Unc, how about the playoff guys or the girls?
Yeah. Yeah, I
How
was going
about
to say,
them?
this is for the playoff guys. Okay, so as usual, we like to highlight high scoring games, but there really aren't any this week. Only
No,
Cincinnati Buffalo has an over under over 50 points.
right,
So
right.
they have 53 and a half. So yeah, my guess, like start all your Bills, start all your Cincinnati skill players. My guess is that this is going to be a barn burner today. I hope
Correct.
so. I have a feeling it's going to be a very entertaining and fun game. So yeah, another one like that, I think is going to be Chicago Green Bay. I think that's going to be a
Yeah,
lot of points scored.
yes,
Both
I
teams
agree.
give up a lot of points to skill positions on their defenses. So I
Correct.
think, yeah, your Green Bay wide receivers especially look good. Josh Jacobs, obviously, you're starting. But
Mm.
Chicago, man, like that running tandem, both DeAndre Swift and Manangai are viable.
Oh, oh yes,
Odunze is out. Take
yes.
note of
We
that
gotta
if
get
you
his
have
back up.
Odunze as a wide receiver.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I'm expecting that game to have a lot of fireworks in it. Other games that
Mhm.
look like they might, Rams, Arizona, they're calling for an over-under of 48. And I definitely
Yeah.
think the Rams are going to try to win decisively against Arizona today after what happened
Oh,
last week.
that's upset
Um,
alert, guys. Just saying.
right. Indy at
Mm.
Jacksonville, I have a feeling is going to be a lot of fireworks in that game too. I have a feeling a lot of points are going to be scored in that. So definitely taking the under on that. But otherwise, there's not a lot of fireworks in general this week. So
Right.
definitely avoid Tennessee, Cleveland, unless you're going to
Oh,
gamble and take Cleveland defensive special teams, right?
yes.
Um,
Yes.
like, yeah, like that's just a
Oh,
shit show. You did nothing there. And but
yeah.
this is we got to talk about this for a second. And I'm sorry to do a little juke maneuver on you here, a little audible,
Talk to me.
but
Go ahead.
that
Mm.
sack record, we might see it go down today. Miles
Yes.
Garrett in his
Yes.
freaking like 13th game of the season has been getting
Yes.
sacks in bunches the last
Yes.
month, right? And
Yes.
he
Yes.
is now, he's got 19 sacks. Like he's
Crazy.
3.5 sacks away from the record. And the
Yes.
significant part about this is like he's on pace. He's getting like something like 1.6 sacks per game throughout the season. So he's on pace to have 25 sacks in 16 games, which would
Right.
like definitively cover the old record of what is it, 22 and a half or 23 that's shared by Strahan, I think it is,
Strahan and TJ. Yeah,
and
you're right.
Reggie White or
Mm,
whatever, right? It's like that bullshit.
mm.
It's no one's really happy with it, but yet nobody's broken it. And now that we're at
No
17
one.
games, people are saying, well, it's going to have to be asterisk because it's in 17 games, not 16. Well, freaking Miles Garrett is ready to lay all of that to
13.
rest
13 or
by
14. Yeah.
obliterating the record in game
Yes.
14 or 15. And that
Yes.
way, just the same way Dickerson, did his running record in the 15th game, not the 16th game. It made some people feel better about breaking OJ, who did it 14, right?
Right.
So people
Right.
have these arguments, right? But he's going to do it in possibly 14 or 15 games. And he's gonna
Insanity.
blow the record out. He might finish the season with like 27 or 28 sacks, and that's
Yes.
gonna be a record that's gonna stand for like 20 more years, right? We're finally
Yes.
done with discussing, debating Strahan versus Lawrence Taylor, the Minister of Defense, right? Reggie
Right.
White. See what I mean? So that could happen today. So sorry to deviate on that briefly, but we had to talk about that.
Yes.
But here, let me go position by position.
Talk to
Quarterbacks,
me.
Jaden Daniels returns for the Commanders
Mm,
against Minnesota, who give up the most
mm.
points to fantasy QBs. I think
Yes.
Lawrence versus Indy is a good one. Mayfield versus New Orleans is probably going to be a good matchup. Even Knicks today going up against Vegas, probably some good stuff.
Mm,
And I like
mm.
Tyrod Taylor in New York. I have a feeling that he
Yes.
might have a decent
By the
game
way,
today,
that was my secret starter, guys. Start Tyrod. Tyrod
right?
Taylor has something going on in New York. Y'all
He's
started. By
good.
the way, I want to acknowledge quickly some of the comments from some of the people in the chat.
Yeah, man.
Les Boss, Harbaugh needs to go. You have a supporter in me, brother.
Don't
That is a
get
fact.
don't get JL started on whether
Do
Harbaugh
not
got to
get me
go.
started about Harbaugh, man. I could take this spot left. I might lose my voice, bro. Don't let me not get started. Brissett, shine of this week. I think Brissett is good. I think Unc mentioned him in his rollout. LT,
um,
I think you were mentioning about Miles Garrett being a monster. LT of
yeah,
the modern age. That is a huge statement, but it's not wrong, man. Miles Garrett as a pass rusher, I don't know too many people passing him right now. Him and TJ are a step above. And I'm telling
the
you right now,
athleticism,
Michael Parsons, we don't want to say it, but Michael Parsons is really up there as well. In terms
the
of consistency,
athleticism that Miles
consistency is
Garrett is
under.
showing. Like there was a highlight
Yes.
last week where he did this fucking ridiculous, like a jump cut, like he freaking Marshall
Yes.
Falk or something, right? And then he did this
Yes.
other thing where he had like his body squared up, right? So the offensive line's like he's straight. His fucking
Yeah.
hips are so flexible. He's doing this wild twisting shift that when his legs plant, his
Crazy
whole
shit,
fucking
bro.
body twisting. Oh man, Miles Garrett is the
Yes.
best, most fearsome sack machine, most athletic sack machine I've seen in a long time. He's just ridiculously flexible.
And the
So
man, think
yeah,
about it. He's doing it at 270 pounds, like 6'4", 6'5", some ridiculous video game type of body, and he's moving and flexible. I think he does some kind of yoga or
yeah,
something in the off. He has to do something
he's
to
got to have
get
some
that
regime like
level of
that.
flexibility. Wrestling, something he's doing. By the way, guys, thank you guys for joining us. Smash that like button. I see the viewership going up, guys. Unc is giving you
Yeah,
his
man.
fantasy starts and sits. Y'all better pay. I'll be giving y'all game, man. He's giving me a lot of game. Let's go,
Now,
Unc.
here's the quarterbacks I don't like today.
Right.
Somebody mentioned in AZ. I might. He's done great. He's been doing
Oh,
great. And I've
Okay.
mentioned him, like I said, like 6 weeks in a row. He's been putting up like almost 20 points a game, sometimes 25 points a game. But I'm telling
Right,
you,
right, right.
man, the Rams are coming today. They're pissed off about last week. He
Gonna
might
sit him.
have a rough game. I'm not
Okay,
going to
fair
say for
play.
sure, but he might. Um,
Fair
I don't
play.
like
Fair play.
Penix versus Seattle today.
Right, right, right.
I don't like
Mhm.
that one. And I also don't like Mahomes against the Texans. That's going to be rough for
No,
quarterbacks,
stay away. Stay away. Houston does things to quarterbacks. You're right about that. I like that.
right?
Yep.
For running backs, the guy to take notice of is Blake Corum has slowly over the last month been coming out of his shell, been getting some good volume, in addition to
Right.
Kyron Williams, right? DeAndre Swift and Monongai, like we noted last week, both guys are viable the way they're running the ball in Chicago, right?
Right.
For wide receivers, all your Broncos, all your Bengals, if they got wide receiver next to their name, then you got a deep enough league. Like, feel free to start those guys. I like
Yeah.
Adonai Mitchell in New York. Even though he had 2 weeks ago, he dropped a ridiculous amount of passes. They still
Yeah.
keep peppering him with targets. Last week, he
Right.
turned it around and had, like, I think over 100 yards, maybe a touch, right?
He
So I
looked
think
great.
he can do that again today against Miami, who give up points in bunches to wide
Mm,
receivers, right?
mm.
So yeah, and he's getting all the targets. The Green Bay receivers, boy, my goodness, we saw them come alive last week and the week
Yeah.
before. So
Good.
Christian
Good.
Watson looked good. Mark Wilson
Yes.
in Arizona, if they do have a good game today, he will probably be the beneficiary of that. Godwin is also
Mm,
back in Tampa Bay, so take notice of that.
mm.
For sits, like I said, Odunze's out. I don't like
Yeah.
Rice today going against the Texans.
No.
I'm not crazy about Olave. I think he might even be injured a bit. I don't like
No.
Debo and I don't like Kirk for some reason. It's just bad matchups. Tight
Right. Right.
ends, Tight ends, Warren looks great, obviously, right? But he's also got a really
Yeah.
good matchup against Jacksonville. Both Andrews and Likely might be viable against the Steelers today. Um,
Mm.
and the one weak spot that Seattle has, simply because they're so tight everywhere else, every other team has no choice but to just keep ramming the ball down the tight end, right? So Seattle actually
Right.
gives up points to tight end. So Kyle Pitts might be an excellent start today at tight
Mm.
end. And the other one I really
Right.
like too is Brenton Strange in Jacksonville. His target share has been growing week by week.
Right.
I think he looks to have a good game today. The guys
Mm.
sit Kelsey, Goddard. I mean, if you have other options, sit them. I mean, but if you have to play them, you have to. If they're your main starter, then you obviously have to start them, right? You gotta
Right.
play your starters. But if I had a choice, right, I would sit both Kelsey and Goddard today because of the matchups. Also, to Barner and Seattle, bad matchup again. Ingram,
Right.
surprisingly, Vegas for some reason is like
Okay.
third best in the league against the tight end. Don't ask me
Mm.
why. They just are.
Okay.
So Ingram, who's been a bit spotty this year, anyways, although he's been coming
Yeah.
alive of late,
Right.
be cautious about that. Now, for defenses, I like the
Mm.
Broncos. I like Cleveland. I like Tampa Bay and the Rams. I would sit Green Bay, Chicago, Indy, or Buffalo defenses. And the odd one that's surprising here is Miami. Miami in the last three
Oh.
games, in the last
Oh.
4 weeks, one of which was a bye week, but in the last three games, the Miami defense and special teams has 33 freaking points. And so they're
Really?
averaging 11 points a week over the last month, and they're going against the Jets today, right?
Oh,
So,
wow.
yeah, so you wouldn't think of Miami ordinarily, but if you're streaming defenses and you're looking for matchups or whatever reason, like, you might want to
Hey,
consider them today.
and quiet as kept. I think Miami's on like a 3-game winning streak, something
Yeah,
wild like that. They
yeah,
started
they're
pretty
turning it
bad, but they're
around.
coming. So Miami
A
guys are
long
viable.
season,
They,
man. Nobody's terrible
yeah,
forever. You can't
you
unless you're
can't say that. By the
Tennessee.
way, shout out to the boss. Basically, what Unc is saying, Tyrod is a good to go, but Brissett, no, you got to sit him. Mayfield, I think what you're saying is he's viable too. Like he's a
Yeah,
starter
he's
today.
playing New Orleans, so he should.
Yeah,
He's supposed to have a good game. But
right.
yeah, I would rank those as Mayfield, Tyrod, then Brissett.
There you go. There you go. Great chat. By the way, shout out to the chat for being active today. We appreciate y'all
Love you,
participating.
boys.
Make
Ask
sure
away,
y'all
boys.
smash
We'll
that
get to
like
all your
button and share.
questions.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Get in the chat, get active. Like, share, do what y'all got to do. We love participating. We gonna talk to you as long as y'all talk to
We
us.
love the
But let's
engagement.
Yes, sir. Let's talk about our lines and spreads. You kind of talked about it a bit during your talk. There's not a lot of big time scoring games that we're gonna
No.
see because a lot of things are divisional. Obviously, our Ravens Steelers, that's a big divisional game.
Yeah.
I'll get to
It's
it,
more of
bro.
a
You know
football
what
week.
I'm gonna pick. I know what you're gonna pick. Let's get your analysis on the game, bro. Let's
Yeah.
at least get your quick takes,
It's
and I'll
a
give you some of mine.
it's a good
Go ahead.
football week is what it is. We're getting to that time
It
of
is.
year where the spreads, the lines and spreads and all that stuff. I mean, it's more about the games, right? Because you're playing
Yes,
divisional
sir.
rivalries and all that type of stuff. We're sorting some things out
Uh,
right now. Like sometimes the spreads go out the window this time of year, unfortunately. But
I
we'll
believe
try to break it down for you. Yeah, we won't
it.
analyze Buffalo and Ravens because we're both really biased that way. Obviously, I'm going Steelers. You're going Ravens on that.
Yeah, yeah.
At
I want to at least
home,
get your thought on the game though. At least your point of
oh
view.
yeah,
Yeah.
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 Steelers are gonna kick ass, bro. You know how it goes.
Nah. Ravens about to kick ass, bro. Come on, you know what time it is, bro. Come on, let's get it. Uh I'll at least make
I
my point. I'll
honestly
make
have
my
no
statement.
idea how that game is gonna go. I just
I'll
have a
make my
feeling it's
argument
just gonna be
quickly.
Ravens Steelers. It's gonna be
Oh,
entertainment, but it's gonna be
it-
ugly.
it's gonna be an ugly game. I would take the under. I do not see it
Yeah,
going
yeah.
43 points. Let's go with the under.
Take
Obviously, I'm
the
gonna go with
under.
my squad, but the Ravens offense, that's the problem. What offense are we gonna see tonight? Are we gonna
Yep.
see the type of offense where you give Derrick Henry, who is clearly the best player on the team? I'm gonna say it. Lamar's not. The best player on the team is Derrick Henry. It is what it
Well,
is, just proven throughout the season. You have to give him touches. If Todd
anyhow,
Monken decides not to, Steelers have an entryway to win this game. Do they cover the spread? Ravens are favored by 5.5. I don't think so. I think it's going to be
no.
closer than that. It's going to be a field goal game. I think it could be an ugly 13-10 type of game. You're talking about Indiana versus
God
Ohio
save
State
us.
type of deal.
God
Yeah,
save
go
us.
ahead.
Yeah, I wouldn't say,
Yeah.
but like seriously, anyhow, Monken, after watching what Buffalo did to the Steelers last weekend, anyhow, he's not feeding Derrick Henry with like 30 freaking carries and Justin Hill another 15. Anyhow, he's not doing that.
That'd be
Like,
insanity.
I
But
don't
I've
know
seen it.
what's
I've seen it, Unc. I've seen it. Why do I go so hard against Harbaugh? Because Munkin listens to Harbaugh. It's not. I don't think Munkin has that type of autonomy, brother. I'm gonna spaz. I'm not gonna get heated. Let me woosah. Let me calm myself down. You know what I mean? But Unc, how do the Steelers win this game? Tell me.
Steelers win this game by running the ball. They get the
Mm,
run game going, time of possession, all that type of thing. Yep, they play Steelers football. It's the only way they're going to win it. Yeah, so they're going to have to get to Lamar.
mm,
Supposedly hobbled Lamar, right? So they're going to need to get a
yeah.
hold of him. They're going to need to get in that backfield, and they're going to need to cut Henry off at the pass. Is what's going to need to happen. If they're not meeting Henry at the line, they don't stand a chance.
Very, very good take. How about the other games? What are you looking at? What are you seeing that
Well,
really gets you moving?
yeah, like
Oh,
there's a
by the way,
couple on
one thing
here
I
that
want to
I've got.
mention, Unc, one
I've
thing I
got,
want to mention, y'all
yeah,
got Adam Thielen. So Adam Thielen, I think, is viable as
yeah.
somebody who want to show up as on a new team. And I think Rogers is going to try to find him early. Just wanted to
Well,
mention that.
Thielen's a
Yeah.
great possession receiver, getting a little long in the tooth, but he's proven himself to be reliable everywhere he goes. And I think a
Yeah.
good possession receiver like Thielen will not hurt the Steelers one little bit. No, I think that's a good. That was an interesting acquisition for sure.
Right.
I've got a couple asterisks, some of them just sheer for just interest because some of the stats are just so wonky, right? Like ordinarily, I would not give two cares about Miami at New York, except for the like Miami's 5-7 and the Jets are like 3-9. Like this should be a terrible game, but we know how
Right.
Miami plays in December in cold weather, right? Not good.
Good point.
So that
Right.
makes the game slightly intriguing. But also too, the Jets are 7-4, 7-4-1 against the spread this year. Like it's really quite improbable how they've been covering point spreads.
Right.
And Miami is 5-7, but they're 6-6 against the spread. So they're like, they're a
Mm.
coin flip on. But I just don't think that they cover today. Like Miami is favored by 2.5, so they expect Miami to win in New
Mm.
York in December. It's although it's clear skies, it's going to be 40 something degrees. Like I don't buy it. Give me the Jets
Right.
at home plus 2.5, and take
Mm.
the over. I think offense will score today.
Nice. Nice. That's a
So
good one.
there's that one.
Mm.
One of the ones I feel probably most solid about is Seattle at Atlanta on the road. It's 6.5 points. But Seattle has the numbers and the receipts to back it up. They're 9-3
Right.
against the spread this year as well, like number one in the league in covering point spreads. Atlanta's 5-6-1, which is kind of like their record is, right? But we noted
Right.
last week that Seattle is like the last week, for example, we were saying that their against the spread was actually better than their win-loss record, right? Like Seattle's been
Right.
covering, so I think you should have confidence with Seattle on the road against Atlanta today, and take the under. I think it'll be more defense than anything. The other one that's interesting is Indiana
Exactly.
at Jacksonville, right? This is a big game.
Oh,
And Jacksonville,
huge.
for whatever
Huge.
reason, is a 1.5 point underdog at home, given how they played
Oh.
in the last month. Well, they're 7-5 against the spread. Indy's six
Mm.
four and two against the spread. They have identical records. I personally think that Indy should be favored by at least 5, given the points, 4 points against, but they're not. Right? Like
No, they're
nobody's
not.
buying that shit. So I think
No.
give me Jacksonville plus 1.5 at home today and take the over. I think points are scored in this one too.
Mm.
Cincinnati
No.
Buffalo, complete shit show. Buffalo -6. I think Buffalo -6 is reasonable. The points, four
Okay.
points again, says that this point spread should be as much as 10. But we've seen the
Oh,
issues that with Buffalo this year, sacks, turnovers, all that stuff. We've seen Cincinnati
right.
playing better. But Cincinnati's 5-7 against the spread. Buffalo's 6-6. So neither team magical. But I think Buffalo
Mm.
runs the ball all day long. And the Bills' pass D is number one. So
Yes.
Burrow and
Yes.
what strength that they do have in Cincinnati is leveled out by Buffalo's efficiency against it. And I think that Cincinnati's going to have no answer for James Cook, just nothing. And so that means that
Oh,
their offense just isn't going to be on the field that much. Give me Buffalo -6 at home.
nice.
Um, the Chicago Green Bay game is probably the only other one that I find really tasty and interesting.
Me too.
Chicago's 8-4 against the spread, 9-3 on the season. Green Bay's
Mm.
5-7 against the spread, and also has 8 wins. I've got Chicago plus 6.5 on this, so it's a pretty
Nice.
lusty point spread for Green Bay. They're expecting Green Bay to win by a touchdown. I think Chicago does
No,
better than that.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I think,
Yeah.
and take the over. Definitely take the over on that one.
Oh, yeah.
if,
Oh,
if
yeah.
that
That
point
fourth
spread were
quarter
like
is gonna be a
3,
big. Yeah.
if that point spread were 2.5 or 3, I'd probably take Green Bay. But
Okay. Okay.
give me Chicago on the road with that good winning record. They've been playing well. They've been playing exciting, and they're good against the spread.
I
Do
still
you have
don't
any games
understand
that
how
you've got?
people are. I don't understand how people are still doubting Chicago, man. That team has
Yeah.
proved week in and
Well,
week out. They're
20
going to.
years of mediocrity will do that to you, right? As a fan, and
It's a
make you kind
different
of
life.
jaded. Do you have any games that you're interested in? I mean, I have them all ranked, but I didn't think
Ooh.
any besides those ones were particularly interesting.
I really like the Texans, Chiefs, and the Eagles, Chargers. I think those two games are very big for what they have potentially in the future. Obviously, the Chiefs, they have to win in
Yep.
order to keep their playoffs alive. The Eagles, I'm gonna say this early, but I don't care. I think the Eagles have a must win today to tomorrow. My bad, they're playing on Monday.
Yeah.
It's a must win because I don't like that offense. They're on a 2-game losing streak, sorry.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that the Cowboys can backdoor them, but I'm saying losing is a habit, same way winning is a habit. That's why I like the Broncos. Broncos know how to win. Eagles
Mhm.
are finding ways to lose now. Their defense can't hold them down. I think this is a massive game. I'm talking about Eagles Chargers. I think the Texans Chiefs is also a big time game as well. What do you think
Yeah.
about them two
Okay,
games?
that's interesting. Yeah, I've got
By the way,
Houston covering
I
that
think
game against. I've got
go ahead.
Houston covering the game against the Chiefs. It's a four
Oh,
point
nice.
spread for
Nice.
the Chiefs. I think
Right.
Houston covers that. Yeah, I think Houston
Yeah,
covers that for
it went
sure.
down to 3.5 now. They made it now 3.5. I think it started at 4. The line
Still give me
moved. Yeah.
Houston. Still give me Houston. I
Yeah.
think they're going to make Mahomes' day at the office extremely miserable. Yeah,
That's a fact.
and
Yeah.
take the under on that one. Now,
Oh, yeah.
for the Monday nighter, Philly at the Chargers. Of course, the issue with the
Mm,
Chargers is Herbert's hand, right? He's the next Rodgers over here. He's working with 1.5 hands, right?
he's
So
right.
they had him in shotgun all week, but he's starting to take
Mm,
some plays from under center, so maybe getting a little better. But like they operated
mm.
on his hand just last weekend.
Oh, snap.
So
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Mm,
So going up against Philly, that hasn't been like incompetent. We've called them, we've hinted that they're maybe a bit fraudulent, whatnot. But
yes.
in this
Yeah.
particular game, like they're on the road. Chargers are 5-6-1 against the spread this year, even though they're 8-4. So they've
Mm,
underperformed against spreads. Philly has closely tracked. They're 7-5 against the spread. They're 8-4 in real football terms. So
mm.
they've sort of performed along with their point spread for the most part, and 2.5 points seems like a reasonable point spread for Philly to cover in this game over the Chargers.
I would have to disagree. I got to take the Chargers on this one because
Yeah,
I
sure
see
enough.
the downfall happening. I would take Chargers the 2 points they have, but I will agree with you on one point. I might take the under on this because I see it being a defensive type of game.
Yeah.
If
I'm not excited
it,
about this game, to be honest.
you're not okay, okay, that's right. I think
Not
we're
really.
different. I
Just
kind of
because
like
Philly's
it. I
been
kind of
playing so like up and down and mercurial, and Herbert the same even before his injury. I kind of feel like this
you like
isn't
it.
the best Monday night game we could have had.
That's fair. That's fair. Let's. You know
Even
what's
though on
crazy?
paper
This
it
is
looks
what
great.
happened. This is why we watch the games. I was just interested because of the narrative of both teams. Chargers
Yeah,
win this game. They really making a push against Denver for that
big
top
time.
spot, and they're gonna play each other in a few weeks. So this is makes it
Yeah.
even more interesting. Philly wins. They solidify their place of winning the NFC East, and essentially they could kind of eliminate the Cowboys after this win. You know what I
Well,
mean? Almost. So we'll
and I
see
think
how it
that's
goes.
what,
That's I
and
like the narrative on it. You know what I mean?
I think that's, I know one narrative is exciting, the other one's boring.
Right,
But I
right.
think that's what Philly does, though, is that I think that they move towards like locking down their division on Monday night.
Mm,
And I think that
okay.
they move towards, getting right for the playoffs or whatever. They're just a cantankerous, irritable team that's up and down, mercurial, they're miserable. But I think that's just their nature. But at the end of the day, they're still 8-4 and pushing towards the playoffs. 3 pods ago, we noted that their schedule is freaking cheats the rest of the season, man. It's easy.
It's a pretty easy schedule. You're correct.
And
It
they got a
gets
game
after
and a
the
half, two
Chargers,
games
it
on
gets
Dallas
pretty
now.
easy.
So like,
Yeah, it gets pretty simple. By the way, I want to acknowledge Les Boss in the chat. Le Boss in the chat. By the way, he said Brandon Cooks viable versus Buffalo. What are your thoughts?
yeah, sure. There's going to be a lot of
Okay.
offense scored. Brandon Cooks. It depends on how deep your league is. If you're just a
Right.
two wide receiver league, then he probably isn't going to enter. But I do believe he will get targets today because it's going to be kind of a wild game out there.
Yeah.
Caution only in the sense that if Cooks really does take over the game and he's getting like 35, 40 freaking getting, if he's running like Jamal, if the guy's running like
Yeah.
Jamal Lewis from 2002 today or something like that, like it might reduce the amount of targets for everybody in that game. But if it ends up being kind of a wild one, we've seen Brandon Cooks everywhere he goes be a reliable set of hands. So
Oh
yeah, you
yes.
can see Cooks getting 5 or 6 targets, maybe a TD if it gets to be a wild game. But I think he's probably second. He'll be like number 3 on the depth chart on the
Right.
receiving
Right.
tree. So,
Right.
but like we've seen Brandon Cooks do it everywhere he goes.
That's a fair point. I said no because I was thinking they're gonna stick with Khalil Shakur and Keon Coleman. I think Keon Coleman got out of the
Keon Coleman's
doghouse.
in the doghouse.
Is he back in there? Did
Well,
they smack him again?
he missed a meeting, right? Like it's like that.
Oh,
You
I
don't
thought
get
he
out
was
of that
good.
doghouse just immediately, right? Like,
Yeah, I saw him score last week, so I'm like, I thought he was cool, but I guess it might not be. I don't know. Maybe Brandon Cooks is the play. I don't
yeah,
know.
who knows? Maybe all's forgiven, right? But
Yeah.
just
All
whatever.
right.
Like I got
But
two options. I got this petulant sophomore guy, or I got Brandon Cooks. Let me just throw
crazy,
Brandon
brother.
over
And
there.
by the way, I think LaBus is a Jacksonville guy. He was screaming out Duval in
Duval
the chat.
County. Damn
Yeah, he's
Skippy
a fan.
Duval. Damn Skippy Duval.
And he said it's a perfect game for the Chargers. He was mentioning how Chargers have very interesting, looking up. He's talking about that he's in a two wide receiver, two flex league. At least that's what I'm saying. It's better
Okay.
option Naylor. How about Naylor as an option? I'm not too sure who Naylor is. I think he's comparing Brandon Cooks and Naylor. I'm not too sure who Naylor
Right.
is, by the way. Mm.
Well, look him up and I'll because I don't recognize that name either. So he's obviously a tertiary receiver. Oh,
Yeah,
Naylor,
I think he's with Minnesota. Yeah, Jalen Naylor,
Minnesota.
if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
Yeah, well, points are going to be scored in that game. I'd probably feel better with Addison over
Right,
Naylor
right. Me too. Me too.
getting targets in that game because Justin Jefferson's probably going to have a day, right? Because
Yeah.
because who are they going up against? The Commanders give up like
I
the
think they're
most points.
facing if I'm not mistaken, they're facing, let me get back to it.
Commanders,
They're playing the
Minnes-
Commanders. Yeah, Jalen, they're playing the
Minnesota
Jalen. Yeah,
has the
Chris Commanders.
Commanders at home, who are the
Commanders at home.
number one team according to Yahoo metrics
Mm.
in giving up points to wide receivers. So
Oh, okay,
Jefferson's going to get
interesting.
all the targets. Addington probably still going to see 7 or 8, and Naylor
Right.
might get in there too. Hawkinson will probably get a few, but I
Hawkinson
think
will
there's
get
going to be a lot of targets out there. But now here's the limiting factor. We saw what happened with that quarterback last week. Is McCarthy back in? I think he is.
Oh, that's a great point because that quarterback cannot play. He cannot
Woo,
play.
baby, he got rocked, didn't he? But we
He's
said that was
really
going to
bad,
happen.
brother. Yeah, yeah. He already has JJ at his quarterback, but I'm telling you right now, if that other quarterback is playing, you got to go Brandon Cooks because I
Yeah,
trust Josh Allen way
but
more than that other quarterback, the backup in
but
Minnesota.
JJ has shown himself not to be a like JJ looks like he's still playing at Michigan.
He's not playing good either, man. JJ is
Yeah,
not
like
playing good at
he
all,
doesn't look
brother.
like he's playing in a pro offense. He doesn't look like a pro quarterback, NFL quarterback playing in a pro offense. He doesn't look it.
And on top of that, there's rumors that Justin Jefferson might want out, something like that. I heard buzzing. I heard some rumors because, brother, you're playing with a quarterback who's not getting you the ball consistently, and you're not looking like the top three, top two receiver that you are. Sam
Justin
Darnold,
Jefferson,
give him his credit. Sam Darnold made him look amazing. Kirk Cousins as well. You know what I mean?
listen,
Yeah.
both those guys. Listen, Justin Jefferson operates 20 yards downfield and in the air. I don't think JJ
Yeah,
McCarthy can throw the ball
straight
20
up.
yards downfield.
I do not see that either, man. You know, one thing, it's going to be interesting to watch. We're watching all the games. You know, me and you, Unc, we're on NFL Red Zone. You know what time it is.
Yeah,
You
dude.
know what I'm saying? We're Red Zone guys. Got to say it. But before we finish off the pod, man, top five teams going into week 14. Unc, I want you to do the pleasantries, man, as you let us know what are your top five teams. Explain to us why as well, man. You know what I mean?
Right.
And by the way, chat, let us know your top five teams too. Let us know.
Yeah,
Go.
man. Yeah, chat.
Mm.
Weigh in here for us. But for me, at number 5, entering the top 5 this week, as we hinted at last week, is the Bears at 9 and
Right.
3 on a 5-game win streak. But they've got a
Mm.
+6 point differential. This is another one of these
Oh,
teams that you look at their points for, points against, and you can't figure out why they aren't 500. Right?
right.
So we're gonna see how long the Bears hold this spot, right? I think they're
Mm.
like the number. I think they're the number one team in the NFC. Were they not at the end of last week?
Yes, they
So,
are. That to the time being, they are the number one team in the NFC right now. If the playoffs
but
started today.
if you're trying to convince me that they're actually better than the Rams and the Seahawks, I'm gonna fight you on that. They might not even be better than San Francisco.
They
Um,
might not even. You're right.
right at number 4, and this is where you
Mm.
and I are no doubt going to differ. Right, number 4, I've got the 10 and 2 Broncos with their +66
Oh.
points, 4 points against, even though they're on a 9-game win streak. I know, dude, all your points are made here, right? 9-game win streak. Like, what the hell is wrong with you, Porter? Right. Well,
Mm.
what's wrong with me is the Rams and the Seahawks make an exceedingly good argument that they're 9 and 3 and they're +124 and +133 points for points against metrics.
Mm.
are better than the Broncos. And they're playing in the NFC, which we've noted that we just sort of feel like the NFC brand of football is better than the AFC this season. So give me the Rams and Seahawks at number 2 for the Seahawks, number 3 for the Rams, because they lost last week, right? We said it's a fluid top 5. So I'm switching Seahawks and Rams around, even though the Rams beat the Seahawks. But just for week 14, that's how it is, right? And number 1, and still undefeated. I got to give it to the Pats, right? 11-2 is 11-2, and now they're building up that number, man. They're up to plus 110, and their points for points against, and they're on a 10-game win streak. Like that competition on their schedule, people say it's a bit sus, but they don't set their schedule. They just play the teams in front of them, and as of week 14. I think they're the number 1 team in the NFL, certainly by the stats. We'll see if they can maintain it next week.
I will give you this point. The Pats, they don't play down to their competition. They smack the team they play. If they play
whatever team they play, they kick the hell out of them. That's right.
They smack them. Because they played literally mostly shitty teams. So they
look at that points, 4 points against, though. They're getting it done. Plus 110. They played 13 games. Like they're winning by more than a touchdown every week.
Yes, they are. My points, by the way, we have a different top 5 this time, and y'all already know we kind of previewed it earlier today. I got the Bears at number 5 as well. Shout out to the Bears. They could climb up with this list after this week. Let's see how they do against Green Bay, because that's a real test. This is basically a playoff game for them. It's going to be huge. I'm
if they beat Green Bay, they're for real.
Oh, they're for real. They're climbing up that list for sure. Number 4, and this is something that's surprising, but I got to do it. I'm putting the Rams there. The Rams, because you don't let Carolina beat you, man. If you are the top dog, you do not let Carolina beat you. And as great as we have, Stafford penciled in for MVP, it really hit his MVP votes that game.
Some chinks in the armor.
A little chink in the armor. He needs to come back with a vengeance this week. I think he will. I think he's going to have a great game. That's a massive start, by the way.
This is the way I'm looking at it too, right? Like, it's going to shuffle around from week to week.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Number 3, and I had a tough time with this one, but I have to do it. I'm putting the Pats at number 3 for the simple fact is the Pats have not played as great competition as the next 2 teams that I have on top of them. But the simple fact is Tennessee, Cleveland, you know what I mean? A lot of the bottom feeder teams, Atlanta,
the AFC East in its entirety.
You know what I mean? You're playing a lot of Commanders. Like, these are the teams that they've been beating. Okay, good. You're beating the bad teams. What happens when you're facing a very strong team, a playoff team? We haven't seen that on a consistent basis.
Yeah, I don't even know if there's one on the schedule aside from Buffalo.
But Buffalo is the only, you know what I mean? That game was a little tight a few times. So, beating Miami, I don't know, bro. So number 2 for me is the Seahawks, Seattle, because they have played a tough schedule. They have played.
So we agree on that one.
We do agree on that one. I got the Seahawks at 2. They played a lot of very tough teams, and they, the reason I put them at number 2 is their defense. I have
anyhow you pitch a shutout. That's a quality D. To not even give up a field goal, not a safety, nothing.
That's quality. Put me over the top. That put me over the top as a game because I'm like, what's the last time we saw a shutout, bro? Not even a field. What's the last time? You know what I mean?
And most people don't like shutouts, right? Most people don't like shutouts, except me. I love them because when you actually get the zero burger on the score, like the defense, you see the defensive players on the sideline and on the field, like just getting hyped, right? This is their time. This is their win. It belongs to them. Offense didn't even need to come on the field this week. Like that's a real feather in your cap as a defense. To hold the shutout in the NFL, that's big to me. I love watching that. Sometimes I love to watch a defense just go to town.
Nice. You know, we Steeler and Raven fans. We like defense, guys. That's something we both have in common. I want to say this: any fantasy owners of Seattle, They gave me like 30 points last week, bro. Like, how is a
Like a
defense
running
giving me
back.
30 points? People are eating. If you're a Seattle guy, you better start them every week. They're one of the best defenses in fantasy,
Houston
by
too.
the way. And number one, no surprise here. I kind of spoiled it earlier. It's the Broncos,
Yeah.
man. It's the Broncos, man.
Ah,
And for me,
wild.
my argument is what I said earlier.
Yep.
Defense is so important, brother. It's so important to me because it's you can keep a defense on the road, you can keep a defense in the playoffs. And if I think the only person who can foil this team, I'm talking about the Broncos, is Bo Nix. Literally, that's it. That's the only person in that organization that can mess it up is Bo Nix. And I just love how they're built. Structurally, they find ways to win. They pull out victories from the jaws of defeat with a 9-game winning streak. It's not as impressive as the 10 game by New England, but I really, really like what
Well,
the
and
Denver Broncos are doing.
PJ Harvey's emerging
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
absence of Dobbins being
J.K.
injured, right?
Dobbins,
He's looking
right?
solid as a rock, right? Just
Really
like
good.
Quinshon Judkins solid, like that kind of play, right? And
Yeah,
and also too, right? Like Cortland Sutton's doing what Cortland Sutton always does: extremely reliable set of hands, good for touchdowns,
mhm,
scores touchdowns. But both Mims and Franklin are also emerging as
yeah,
receivers for Bo Nix. So if Bo Nix can get his accuracy together, for heaven's sakes, my goodness. I mean, I
yeah.
realize he's an old man now, after playing 18 years in college, but you know, but anyways, yeah, the Bo Nix needs to stop having like 27 for 43 type games. He starts needing to go 27 for 35 type of thing.
Yes,
Button that
yes,
down. And because he's got three quality receivers that he can toss to. Yeah,
yeah.
giddy up. And like what I found so inexcusable about their win last week is that for a team with
Mhm.
that type of defense, you're up 13-7 at halftime. Why they didn't go boa constrictor anaconda and just suffocate the hell out of the Commanders, suffocate the hell out of the
My God, it
Commanders
made no
in the second
sense.
half, left
It
me
made no
feeling
sense.
dubious about the Broncos and just how real are they. But
Well,
they
well,
could.
that's what I'm. That's like I get your argument as well because think about it like this: if you're going into the second half, you're winning this game, right? Bo Nix, why are you having all these 3 and outs? All these you're throwing balls way past your receivers, underthrowing them. Anytime he wants to scramble, he's picking weird lanes. Like he has a
Yeah,
Jekyll and Hyde in him that I think like a team like Houston could expose. I'm big on Houston. If
yeah.
Houston makes the
Well,
playoffs, they can expose this
oh,
team.
look out,
So
look
it
out.
is a
If
risk because
Houston,
the defense saved his ass. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So like he did not have a performance versus the Commanders. He did not. It was not good, bro.
nobody's going to want to play Houston in the playoffs. You remember what happened 2 years ago when Houston made the playoffs? They made people pay.
Right. Right.
But
By the way, let's listen to Le Boss. He has some of his top five. He has Buffalo at number 5. He has Bengals at number 4. Well, that's a bit weird. The New England at 3, Detroit at 2, and Rams at 1. I don't know, brother. And then he has shout out to nice defense. Defense wins championship. I don't know, brother. You know what I mean? Jekyll and Hyde. Yes, Bo Nix is Jekyll and Hyde at the same time. You got to flip a coin, bro. You don't know what you're gonna get when he plays the game of football. Any last comments,
yeah,
guys, before
well,
we end it?
that's exactly what I was getting at when I said that Bo Nix needs to button it up. So yeah.
Right. Any last comments before we let the people go? I want to give a big shout out, by the way, to KP on his lunch break, pulling up. LaBoss with great comments. Shout out to my homie Rob in the chat as well. He brought up the Harbaugh Tomlin trade, and everybody else who's watching in the background and watching the replay. We really appreciate y'all, man. Talk to us. Mm,
Yeah, man. The only thing I was going to add into that, but
yeah.
I've lost my train of thought on it. I had a great thing to add in there, but it's gone like a puff of smoke. All I can
Oh,
say,
good.
man, is just it's Steelers Ravens weekend, man. I'm just psyched. I just love this game, especially it's the 1 o'clock window too. So we just dive right into it. Yeah, baby. Repping the colors this week, like we always do every time this year. Twice a year, we do this on the podcast whenever our teams are playing. So, yeah, boss, let's go get it. I
Yeah.
remember. I think what the comment was.
Mm.
Buddy's top 5. What was it again? The Bills and who else was in there
Yeah,
that we
so
thought
he
was
had
odd?
a Buffalo 5, Bengals 4. I don't get it. New
Okay.
England at 3, Detroit at 2, Rams at 1. I kind of
Okay,
like that.
right. The Bengals one is interesting, right? Because it's funny. Dominic
Mm,
Foxworth had comments when he was doing his Friday thing with Bomani Jones, and
right.
he was saying that his producers at ESPN are trying to
Mm.
convince him to go all in on the Cincinnati narrative, and Dominic Foxworth was just like, nope, nope, nope. Like I'm not. He's like, well, they can win this game, win this game, win this game, and their schedule is this and this and that. And Bomani or Dominique's just like, nope, they're just gonna do what the Bengals always do. so
Oh, that's
so yeah,
hey, that yeah.
I I think it would be fun if the Bengals pulled off what they did, years ago when they went to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
That was exciting stuff. I don't think they have it in them this year. The defense needs to be stronger.
I fully agree with you on that take, man. And LeBoss has some Bengals love in him because
God love them.
they'd
We
have to
all
like
do. We all
literally
love our teams, man.
they'd have to like run the calendar pretty much, and
Yeah,
they have to
they would
run
have
it
to win out.
convincingly. They'd
They would
have to
have to
win
win
out,
out, and the
yeah.
Steelers and the Ravens would both have to implode.
They'd have to implode. And think about it like this: the Bengals, other than that Super Bowl run, what have they done? Not much. Not much. I'm being real. I'm not even playing. Now, could they win tonight or today versus Buffalo? Yes, that's possible because Joe Burrow has a history of beating Josh Allen. That's actually pretty consistent. His teams have beat Josh Allen's teams, but who are you playing next? You're gonna play Cleveland, you're gonna play Baltimore, you're gonna play the Steelers to end off your season. You think those games are gonna be easy, bro? I
All
don't know.
rivalry games. All
Come on,
rivalry
bro.
games. Shit. You
Come
watch,
on,
right?
bro.
They'll beat the
Yeah.
Steelers. They'll beat the Steelers, the
Oh
Ravens,
no.
and they'll lose to Cleveland, right? Like in some other outfit, right? So
Yeah.
that's what the Bengals do, and that's what Dominique Foxworth was getting at. He's like, the Bengals are going to do what the Bengals always do, right?
Yeah.
And that's fool's gold,
Uh,
basically.
Well, you know what? Our with our luck, it's gonna be opposite as hell. You never
Right,
know.
right.
With our luck and our jinxing, knock on all the wood, bro. But we appreciate y'all for coming in and vibing with us, man. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
man.
Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share, do all the good stuff. There's a new feature on YouTube called Hype. There's a hype button. Make sure you press that. That helps us with the algorithm. Really
Yes,
appreciate
I.
y'all for tuning in, man. Good times. Let's watch the games, brother. Let's watch. By the way, big shout out again to Unc for helping me out. I've been dealing with a sore throat. He's been a massive help during this podcast. Shout out to you, Unc. You know what I mean?
Nothing like a motor mouth on a podcast when you got a sore throat. I'm happy to do it. One
Y'all
love to
enjoy the
all the
game.
people. Enjoy the
Yeah,
games, man. It's going to be epic.
it's gonna be dope. We out.
Yeah, dude.